The village of Hollow Creek was little more than a whisper among the tall, ancient pines. Time moved slowly there, like the gentle sway of the branches above. Folks who lived there spoke in quiet tones. Stories passed down like soft shadows in the twilight. Stories of the old house at the edge of the woods, where the wind sang through broken windows, and the nights held secrets just beneath the surface. I came to Hollow Creek in late autumn, the air crisp with the smell of fallen leaves and distant smoke. The sun slipped behind hills early, painting the sky in hues of purple and deep amber. The house stood alone, its weathered wood creaking softly with the wind's gentle touch. No one lived there anymore, or so they said. I arrived just as dusk gathered, the last light fading like a slow sigh. The front door hung slightly ajar, inviting but wary. Inside, the air was thick with quiet. Dust danced in the faint glow from a single candle on the cracked windowsill. The floorboards creaked softly beneath my feet, each step echoing like a breath in the stillness. There were pictures, faded sepia-toned faces frozen in time, staring from the walls with eyes full of unspoken stories. I felt a chill, not cold but something deeper, a whisper brushing the back of my mind. Yet the silence was gentle, almost comforting, like the calm before a long, slow storm. Night settled fully, wrapping the house in soft shadows. The wind moved through the pines like a slow melody, carrying whispers I could almost catch. I settled into an old armchair by the fireplace, its ashes cold but inviting. Outside, the world faded into a quiet lullaby of rustling leaves and distant calls. As the hours slipped by, the house seemed to breathe, a gentle pulse beneath the silence. Sometimes a soft creak, a faint murmur like a voice just beyond hearing. I closed my eyes and let the quiet wash over me. In Hollow Creek, even the ghosts seemed to move softly, carefully, as if afraid to wake the sleeping earth. The morning sun slipped through the cracked window panes, casting slender beams across the worn wooden floor. The air smelled faintly of pine and something older, the scent of forgotten time and whispered memories. I woke to the soft rustle of leaves brushing the outside walls, like a lullaby sung by the forest itself. Hollow Creek was still asleep, the village cloaked in early mist that curled like a slow breath over the hills. The house creaked gently, as if stretching awake after a long slumber. In the kitchen, an old kettle sat forgotten on the stove, its enamel chipped and faded. I filled it with water from the tap, cold and clear, and set it to boil. Outside, a raven called once, a deep croak that rolled softly across the trees. The sound was neither threatening nor sudden, but steady, a sentinel's quiet announcement. The day stretched out in slow moments. I wandered through rooms lined with faded wallpaper, peeling and curling like ancient leaves. The walls seemed to hum softly, holding secrets like soft breaths caught between moments. I found a diary tucked beneath a loose floorboard, its pages yellowed and fragile. The ink was faded but legible. It spoke of gentle nights and quiet fears, of watching eyes beyond the windows, and the slow passing of time marked by the turning seasons. The words told stories of those who once called this house home. Names like Eleanor, Joseph, and Little May, their lives woven into the fabric of the house like threads in a tapestry. There was no rush in their stories, only the patient passage of days, with moments of light and shadow. As the afternoon waned, I stepped outside. The forest surrounded the house like a living wall, the pines standing tall and silent. Their branches swayed softly, whispering in the gentle wind. I felt eyes on me, not from any one place, but from the woods themselves, watchers patient and unseen. The feeling was not of fear, but of belonging, like the house and forest were waiting for something, or someone. As twilight approached, the sky blushed with shades of rose and purple. The first stars blinked awake in the deepening dusk. Inside, the house seemed to breathe with a slower pulse. The shadows lengthened, folding gently across the floors and walls. I lit the candle again, its flickering flame casting dancing shapes. The evening stretched long and quiet. Outside, the night creatures sang their soft songs, the rustle of small paws on leaves, the distant hoot of an owl. Sometimes through the dark, I thought I heard footsteps, slow and measured, pacing the halls above. But when I listened closely, there was only silence. The house held its stories close. I settled again by the fireplace, the cold ashes glowing faintly in the candlelight. The night deepened around me like a gentle blanket. Here, in the hush of Hollow Creek, even the shadows seemed soft, and the past was a slow, whispering presence. The night deepened into a velvet hush, and I found myself lying awake in the old creaky bed, the thin quilt pulled close around me. Outside the window, the pines whispered softly, their branches scratching at the sky like delicate fingers. I thought I heard a faint tapping, like a slow rhythm against the window pane. I turned toward the sound, but only shadows danced across the glass, bending in the flicker of the candlelight. Sleep felt like a distant visitor, hesitant and slow to arrive. Morning came with muted light and a calm silence. The house seemed to hold its breath as I wandered through its rooms, tracing white fingers along the worn wooden banister. The floorboards beneath my feet groaned softly, as if telling their own stories. In the parlor, the fireplace sat cold and empty, the remnants of ash a reminder of long extinguished fires. On the mantel rested a delicate porcelain figurine, an angel, wings folded gently around her. I picked it up carefully, feeling the smooth coolness of the ceramic. There was something tender and fragile about it, as if it held a secret yearning. In the kitchen, the air was thick with the faint scent of something baked long ago. The oven door was slightly ajar, revealing the darkness inside like a hidden cavern. I set about making tea, the kettle's gentle whistle filling the quiet house with soft music. As I waited, my eyes wandered to the window, where the forest seemed to lean closer, watching with ancient patience. The diary I had found earlier beckoned from the corner of the room. I opened it once more, tracing the faded ink with reverence. Eleanor's words unfolded slowly, like petals in the dawn. She wrote of days spent tending to the garden, of children's laughter echoing through the halls, and nights filled with hushed prayers whispered into the dark. But beneath the surface, there was a thread of unease, soft and subtle, like a shadow just beyond the light. I ventured upstairs, each step a careful echo through the quiet halls. The walls here were thinner, and I felt the weight of the house's memory settle around me. In one small bedroom, the wallpaper peeled back in long curls, revealing the faded shapes of forgotten murals beneath. A child's room one, I thought. The soft pastels faded to muted grays, the scent of lavender still lingering faintly in the air. There, tucked beneath the bed, I found a small wooden box, its surface carved with delicate patterns. I opened it slowly. Inside lay a collection of dried flowers, a tarnished silver locket, and a folded note, brittle with age. Unfolding the note, I read the careful handwriting. For those who listen with gentle hearts, may you find peace in the whispers. As evening settled, the house seemed to draw closer, its breath a slow, steady rhythm I could feel in my bones. The wind outside hummed a quiet melody, weaving through the pines like an old forgotten song. I lit the candle again, watching the flame flicker and dance, casting shadows that seemed to lean in with quiet curiosity. Sleep came at last, gentle and soft, carried on the wings of the night's whispers. And somewhere in the stillness, I knew the house was watching, waiting, telling its stories one quiet breath at a time. The dawn crept in quietly, filtering through the curtains like a pale promise. The house remained still, but I could feel a gentle pulse beneath its walls, a heartbeat that seemed to sync with my own. Outside, the pines swayed in a slow, steady rhythm, their needles brushing softly against one another in the early breeze. I stepped onto the porch and breathed deeply, the crisp air filling my lungs with calm. There was a presence here, something patient and unhurried, watching from the edges of the forest. I wandered the garden, now wild and overgrown, where the last remnants of autumn clung to the withered vines. Among the tangled branches, I found a single rose, its petals faded but still holding the faintest hint of color. It felt like a quiet message, left just for me. The village remained distant, a soft hum beyond the trees. At the market, voices were low and smiles were careful. I met Casey again, the librarian who seemed to know the stories of Hollow Creek better than anyone. She spoke gently of the house's history, of lives lived in quiet dignity and whispered sorrow. "There are watchers here," she said softly. "Guardians, some say. Not all ghosts are restless." Back at the house, I found myself drawn to the attic, a place heavy with dust and memories. The light filtering through the small window was weak, but it revealed shelves lined with old trunks and faded photographs. Among the relics, I discovered a music box, its surface carved with delicate ivy patterns. Winding the key, a soft melody spilled out, slow and haunting, like a lullaby sung long ago. The days slipped by in a slow rhythm, punctuated by the soft creaks of the house and the whispers of the forest. Each night I lit candles and sat by the window, listening to the wind song and the faint tapping that had greeted me on my first night. The sound was never loud or sudden, but steady, like a heartbeat beneath the earth. One evening, as the moon hung low and heavy in the sky, I saw a figure in the woods. Just a shadow at first, then clearer, a silhouette standing still among the pines. I held my breath, the quiet stretching between us. The figure turned slowly, and I felt eyes meet mine. Not cold or threatening, but soft and watchful. Then, just as quietly as it had appeared, the figure vanished into the trees. The house exhaled around me, its stories unfolding in whispers and shadows. I knew this was a place where time moved differently, where past and present blended in a gentle dance, where the watchers waited patiently, their quiet presence a comfort rather than a curse. As sleep called again, I rested in the knowledge that some stories aren't meant to frighten, but to soothe. That sometimes the softest whispers can hold the deepest truths. And in the heart of Hollow Creek, beneath the pines, the night was a gentle guardian, keeping watch over those who listen. The mornings grew colder, the breath of winter brushing the edges of the forest with frost. Yet inside the house, the warmth seemed to gather around me. Not just from the thin fire I kept stoked, but from the slow unfolding of stories hidden in its walls. Each room held its own quiet secrets. A broken chair here, a faded quilt there, relics of lives once lived with care. I spent long afternoons reading Eleanor's diary by the window, the soft light catching the edges of the yellowed pages. Her words spoke of simple joys, tending the garden, sharing quiet meals, and the gentle comfort of companionship. But beneath the gentle prose, I sensed the undercurrent of waiting, a hope held in patient silence. The villagers of Hollow Creek were kind but reserved. At the bakery, the scent of fresh bread mingled with hushed conversations. Casey told me stories, not of ghosts or hauntings, but of memories held gently, like cherished photographs tucked away in old albums. "There's a kindness here," she said softly, "even in the quiet shadows." That night, I dreamt of the pines. Their branches stretched high and strong, swaying in a breeze I could almost hear, a whispering lullaby that wrapped around me like a soft blanket. I awoke to the faint sound of tapping again, this time clearer and more rhythmic, like footsteps echoing in the hallway. I told myself it was the house settling, or perhaps the wind playing tricks. Days passed with slow grace. I found myself drawn to the attic again, the music box's melody lingering in my mind like a half-remembered song. In the corner, I discovered a bundle of letters tied with faded ribbon, love letters exchanged between Eleanor and Joseph. Their words were tender, filled with promises whispered under starlit skies in the hope of brighter tomorrows. As winter deepened, the night stretched longer, the darkness folding gently around the house. I lit candles in every room, their soft glow pushing back the shadows. The tapping sound came and went, always gentle, never harsh. Sometimes I thought I heard faint laughter, a soft murmur, like a lullaby sung just beyond hearing. One evening, as I sat by the fire, the wind shifted and carried a new sound, the faintest echo of a piano, distant but clear. I rose, heart quickening, and followed the melody to the parlor. There, the old piano sat, keys worn and dust-covered. I pressed one key gently, and a single note rang out, soft, clear, and full of longing. The house was alive with stories, ent of terror, but of quiet love and gentle watching. It held its memories like a mother holds her child, close, warm, and safe. And I was learning to listen to its soft murmurs, to find peace in its whispered embrace. The mornings grew slower, the chill in the air deepening like a whispered secret. Yet inside the house, the light was soft and warm, filtering through the windows like gentle silk. I found myself drawn to the small garden behind the house, where frost clung to the last brave blossoms. Each delicate petal held a quiet beauty, fragile yet persistent. The forest beyond stood tall and silent, its shadow stretching long and calm. In the parlor, the old piano rested quietly, its keys gleaming faintly in the morning sun. I touched the notes carefully, letting the soft sound ripple through the still air. It was a melody without hurry, a song of waiting, of patient hearts and gentle time. The diary continued to unfold its stories. Eleanor's voice, delicate and steady, spoke of love and loss, of days marked by the simple rhythms of life. She wrote of Joseph's smile, of May's laughter, and the quiet strength that held their family together through storms seen and unseen. One evening, the wind whispered through the trees with a new song, a melody woven with hope and memory. I sat by the fire, the flames flickering softly, casting gentle shadows that seemed to sway in time with the music. Outside, the pines sighed, their branches brushing one another in a tender dance. The tapping sound, once faint and hesitant, grew a little stronger, a steady rhythm like a heartbeat beneath the floorboards. I began to understand the house was alive, its stories breathing softly in the dark. And I was part of that breathing now. In the quiet hours, I found comfort in the gentle presence that seemed to watch over me. Not a specter to fear, but a guardian of memories, a keeper of quiet moments. The house was a lullaby, slow and soothing, inviting me to rest within its arms. The days grew shorter and a quiet stillness settled over Hollow Creek. The house stood like a gentle sentinel, holding its stories close, wrapped in the soft embrace of fading light. Each morning I woke to the sound of the pines murmuring outside my window, a slow, calming rhythm that eased the edges of waking. Inside, the rooms felt warmer, as if the house itself was breathing, alive with gentle life. I found myself drawn again to the attic, where forgotten treasures waited patiently in the dim light. Among the dusty trunks, I uncovered a worn photo album, its pages yellowed and fragile. The photographs told stories in silence, smiles frozen in time, hands clasped with quiet affection, moments of laughter captured like fleeting dreams. One photo caught my eye. Eleanor and Joseph standing beneath the towering pines, their faces soft with hope and something unspoken. As the sun set behind the hills, the house seemed to glow softly from within. The tapping sound echoed once more, slow and steady, like a heartbeat syncing with my own. It was a reminder that some presences were not meant to frighten, but to comfort. I began to understand that the watchers of Hollow Creek were gentle, patient souls who lingered not to haunt, but to guard. Their stories were woven into the very fabric of the house, a lullaby for those who would listen. At night, the whispers grew softer, like a mother's soothing song. I closed my eyes and let the calm wash over me, carried on the wings of the pine-scented breeze. And in that quiet, I found peace. The twilight spilled softly over Hollow Creek, the fading light casting long shadows through the pines. The air held a hush, a gentle pause between day and night. I sat by the window, watching the forest lean into the dark, its branches swaying like slow dancers in a lullaby. Inside the house, the soft tapping continued, a rhythmic beat that seemed to echo from the very walls. It was a quiet companion, a gentle presence that followed me through the rooms like a whispered promise. The candlelight flickered softly, casting dancing shadows that bent and swayed with the flame. I opened the diary once more, Eleanor's voice spilling softly from the faded pages. She wrote of quiet nights like this, of the stars that blinked softly above, and the comfort found in slow, steady rhythms. There was a tenderness to her words, a patient love woven through every sentence. Outside, the wind carried the scent of pine and earth, the scent of seasons shifting quietly in the dark. I felt the watchers close by, not with menace, but with gentle vigilance. Their presence was like a lullaby, soft and soothing, inviting rest and peace. As night deepened, the house seemed to sigh softly, the ancient timber settling like a breath held and released. I let the calm settle over me, the tapping and the whispers weaving a slow, soothing melody. Sleep came easy that night, a soft descent into quiet dreams beneath the watchful pines. The house was not just a place of stories, but a sanctuary, a slow, gentle song in the dark. And I was learning to listen. The forest breathed around the old house, a slow, patient rhythm that seemed to pulse with the heartbeat of time itself. The pines stood tall and still, their dark green needles whispering secrets in the breeze, a language older than memory. Each morning, the light filtered through the mist like a soft sigh, painting the world in pale golds and cool blues. I found comfort in these slow, gentle moments, the quiet hum of life unfolding at its own unhurried pace. Eleanor's diary had become my closest companion, her words a tender thread connecting me to the lives that had come before. She wrote not just of days and nights, but of feeling, the gentle ache of longing, the quiet strength in loving without knowing what tomorrow might bring. Her descriptions of the house were intimate, the creak of floorboards, the way the sunlight pooled in corners, the soft tapping of rain against the windows like a lullaby. Reading her pages felt like stepping into a warm, slow dance, where every moment held weight and meaning. One afternoon, I ventured deeper into the forest, the soft crunch of leaves beneath my feet blending with the distant call of birds. The trees seemed to watch with gentle eyes, their shadows stretching long and calm. As I walked, I found a small clearing bathed in sunlight, where wildflowers grew in quiet clusters. There, I sat and listened to the wind weaving through the branches, carrying the faintest echoes of laughter and music, fragments of a life gently remembered. Back in the house, I found the attic becoming a sanctuary of memories. Among the trunks and dusty chests, I uncovered a bundle of letters tied with a faded blue ribbon. They were from Joseph to Eleanor, filled with words of hope and reassurance during difficult times, promises made softly like a secret shared in the dark. Their love was not loud or dramatic, but steady and enduring, a quiet flame that warmed the coldest nights. The tapping sound that had once been a distant curiosity grew more distinct. It was steady, like a heartbeat beneath the floor, a slow rhythm that seemed to reach out through time. Sometimes when I paused to listen, I thought I heard a soft voice humming along, a lullaby whispered just beyond hearing. Night in Hollow Creek wrapped the world in a velvet cloak. The stars blinked softly overhead, and the house seemed to pulse with an unseen energy, gentle and watchful. I lit candles around the rooms, their flickering light casting dancing shadows that told stories of their own. Each flame was a small beacon in the dark, a reminder that light could be found even in the quietest places. Sleep came easily that night, carried on the wings of the house's soft heartbeat. Dreams floated through my mind like delicate feathers, filled with echoes of laughter and the warmth of remembered touch. When morning came, I felt a deep sense of belonging, as if I were part of the slow, steady story woven trough, the pines and the walls. The watchers of Hollow Creek were no longer distant mysteries, but gentle guardians, their presence a balm to restless souls. They held the past with kindness, guiding the present with quiet hands. And I knew that I was not alone. The days grew quieter as the first snowflakes began to drift lazily from the gray sky, settling softly on the needles of the pines. The forest wore a delicate white cloak, transforming the world into a place of hushed wonder. Inside the house, the fire crackled gently, its warmth a small oasis against the chill outside. I wrapped a thick blanket around my shoulders and settled into the parlor, Eleanor's diary resting in my lap like an old friend. Her words spoke of winter nights spent by the hearth, the flickering flames casting shadows that danced like memories on the walls. She wrote of Joseph's steady presence, a calm strength in the face of uncertainty, and May's quiet laughter that warmed even the coldest evenings. The house itself seemed to breathe with her stories, each room humming with soft echoes of days long past. One evening, as twilight folded into night, I noticed the tapping sound again. Softer now, almost hesitant. It seemed to come from beneath the floorboards in the hall, a slow, rhythmic beat that called out like a heartbeat through the silence. I followed the sound, my footsteps light on the worn wooden floor. In the corner of the hall, a faded rug lay askew, its edges curled and worn. Beneath it, the floorboards creaked softly, hiding a small trapdoor I hadn't noticed before. With gentle hands, I lifted it, revealing a narrow staircase descending into shadow. A soft chill rose from the depths, but something urged me forward. A quiet curiosity, a longing to understand. The stairs led down to a small cellar, lined with stone walls damp with age. The air smelled of earth and forgotten things. In the dim light of my phone, I saw shelves lined with old jars and bottles, remnants of preserved harvests and homemade remedies. Among the dust and cobwebs, a wooden box sat quietly on the floor. Inside, I found a bundle of letters tied with ribbon, older than the ones in the attic, brittle and yellowed with time. Their ink was faded, but the words still held a soft power. Stories of love, loss, and hope whispered across generations. As I read, a figure appeared in the doorway. A woman, pale and translucent, her eyes gentle and sad. She smiled softly, her presence calm and comforting rather than frightening. Her voice was a whisper, a lullaby carried on the wind. "You are not alone," she said. The tapping grew louder, but it was no longer a warning. It was a song, a heartbeat shared across time and space. The veil between worlds felt thin here, fragile as the snowflakes drifting outside. And I was caught between moments, between past and present, between sleep and wakefulness. That night, I slept deeply, wrapped in the house's embrace. Dreams came soft and slow, memories woven with quiet light and shadows that did not frighten but soothed. When dawn came, the forest glistened beneath a pale winter sun, the pines standing tall and patient, their whispers a gentle song of waiting. The story was far from over. The watchers remained, their soft presence a comfort in the dark. And I was learning to listen to the heartbeat beneath the floorboards, to the whispers beneath the pines. The snow continued to fall softly, a silent blanket muffling the world outside. The forest seemed to hold its breath beneath the weight of winter, its pines standing like ancient sentinels cloaked in white. Inside the house, warmth radiated gently from the hearth. The fire's amber glow flickered against the walls, casting long shadows that danced slowly in the quiet room. I sat by the window watching the delicate flakes drift down, each one unique and fragile, a reminder of time's quiet passage. Eleanor's diary rested in my hands, her words carrying the soft weight of memories lived and loved. She wrote of winter evenings spent wrapped in quilts, stories shared beneath the watchful eyes of ancestors long gone, but never forgotten. Her voice was a gentle thread weaving through the silence, a lullaby for the restless, a promise that even in the coldest nights, warmth could be found. The tapping beneath the floorboards returned that night, steady and sure, a heartbeat echoing in the stillness. I followed its rhythm again, the soft creak of the trap door greeting me like an old friend. In the cellar, the woman's presence lingered, serene and kind. Her whisper was a melody that settled deep in my soul. You belong here. You are part of You are part of this story now. Outside, the wind carried the scent of pine and snow, a fragrant breath that filled the air with peace. The house was alive, not with ghosts to fear, but with gentle memories that wrapped around me like a warm shawl. As dawn broke, the forest sparkled with frost, the pines glistening like sentinels bathed in light. I felt the watchers close, their quiet presence a steady comfort in the morning calm. And I knew that this slow, soft story was far from over. Whispers beneath the pines extended part. The heavy snow muffled the world outside, wrapping the forest and the old house in a soft, white silence. Each flake drifted gently, landing like a whisper on the branches of the ancient pines. The stillness was profound, like the whole world was holding its breath. Inside the house, the warmth from the crackling fire spread slowly, filling the room with a tender glow. I wrapped myself in a thick, woven blanket, the fabric soft against my skin, and settled near the hearth. The diary lay open in my lap, Eleanor's delicate script guiding me through moments of joy and sorrow, love and quiet hope. Her words painted pictures of winter nights like this, filled with flickering candlelight, hushed voices, and the comforting presence of those who had come before. She wrote about Joseph, steady and kind, always a calm center in the swirl of uncertainty, and May, whose laughter was like a warm ember in the cold. The tapping beneath the floorboards had become a gentle heartbeat now, steady, slow, inviting. I had come to recognize it as a kind of welcome, a soft rhythm that echoed the pulse of the house itself. Following it one evening, I found the hidden trapdoor beneath the faded rug in the hall, leading down to the cellar filled with forgotten things. Among the dusty jars and brittle letters, the presence of a woman appeared, not threatening but tender, her translucent figure glowing faintly in the low light. She spoke softly, "You are not alone here. This is your home now." The snow outside continued to fall, the forest wrapped in a quiet embrace. The house was no longer a place of eerie shadows, but a sanctuary filled with gentle memories and watchful guardians. Their whispers and tapping were a lullaby, a slow, soothing song that carried me into deep, peaceful sleep. Morning light spilled through frost-kissed windows, the pines standing tall and patient, their branches heavy with snow. I felt the heartbeat beneath the floorboards, the soft presence around me, and the story weaving itself quietly onward. The cold winter air clung gently to the windows of the old house, where the pale light of dawn crept slowly inside. Outside, the forest was wrapped in a thick blanket of snow, the pines heavy with frost that glistened faintly in the soft morning glow. Inside, the fire crackled quietly in the hearth, its warm orange light dancing across worn wooden floors and the faded wallpaper that told stories of decades long past. The room smelled faintly of pine needles, aged wood, and the faintest trace of lavender, a scent carried by the soft breeze from the garden out back. I sat in the old rocking chair by the window, Eleanor's diary open on my lap. Her delicate handwriting was like a whisper, telling stories of days filled with simple pleasures, quiet love, and gentle hope. The world outside was hushed and slow, the snow muffling even the faintest sounds of life. The house seemed to breathe softly, its heartbeat the steady tapping beneath the floorboards, a rhythm I had learned to listen to as a lullaby. Eleanor's words described winter nights much like this one, when the family would gather close to the fire, sharing stories and laughter that warmed the cold air. She wrote of Joseph's steady presence, the way he could calm storms both outside and within with his quiet strength. May's laughter, bright and light, filled the corners of the house like sunbeams breaking through winter clouds. Their love was patient, tender, and enduring, a gentle flame against the cold. The tapping beneath the floor had become familiar, almost comforting. One evening, curiosity guided me to lift the faded rug in the hallway. Beneath it, a small trapdoor creaked softly as I opened it, revealing a narrow staircase descending into shadow. A faint chill rose from below, but a strange calm urged me forward. The cellar was small and lined with cold stone walls, the air thick with the scent of earth and forgotten memories. Old jars and bottles sat on rough shelves, remnants of harvests and remedies from generations past. On the floor, a wooden box rested quietly, its surface worn smooth by time. Inside it, letters tied with faded ribbons whispered stories of hope and loss. Love letters between Eleanor and Joseph, their promises etched softly in ink. As I read, the temperature seemed to shift. A soft glow appeared in the corner of the room, a figure, translucent and pale, but with eyes warm and kind. She smiled gently, a motherly presence that spoke of protection and peace. Her voice was barely more than a breath. "You are part of this story now." The tapping grew stronger, like a heartbeat syncing with my own. The veil between past and present felt thin, fragile as the snowflakes falling outside. The house was alive with memory and love, a sanctuary for those who listen closely. That night, I fell into a deep, peaceful sleep. Dreams came softly, carried on the wings of lullabies whispered beneath the pines. I awoke to the sun spilling gold across the snow, the forest standing quiet and watchful. The watchers of Hollow Creek were no longer shadows to fear. They were gentle guardians, their presence a soothing song in the dark. And I was finally home. The deep winter settled over Hollow Creek like a quiet blanket, the pines heavy with snow and silence. The house seemed to sigh softly in the cold air, its wooden beams creaking gently like the slow breathing of an old friend. Inside, the fire glowed low, casting a warm, flickering light that softened the edges of the long shadows stretching across the floor. I sat by the window, watching the forest outside, still patient and wrapped in the quiet hush of snowfall. The tapping beneath the floorboards had grown faint, more like a heartbeat slowing as if preparing to rest. It was no longer a call, but a gentle goodbye, a lullaby to close the chapter. I opened Eleanor's diary one last time, tracing her words with care. Her story had woven itself into my soul, the tender love between her and Joseph, the laughter of May, the watchful presence of those who came before. I understood now that the house wasn't just a place. It was a living memory, a guardian of whispers, of love that stretched beyond time. That evening, I found myself drawn once more to the cellar. The translucent woman appeared again, her smile warm and comforting. "You carry their story now," she whispered. "And when you rest, their voices will lull you softly." She faded slowly into the glow of candlelight, leaving behind a stillness full of peace. I climbed back upstairs, the house feeling more alive than ever, not with ghosts, but with quiet love and patient watching. Outside, the snow continued to fall, each flake a gentle kiss from the past. I sat back by the fire, the diary closed now, but its whispers ever present in the rhythm of the house. Sleep came easily that night, soft and deep, cradled by the slow, steady heartbeat beneath the floor. The watchers of Hollow Creek had said their last goodnight, and the story, our story, found its gentle end. The pines outside stood tall and still beneath the heavy blanket of snow, their branches bowed gently under the weight of winter's quiet hush. The world felt soft, slowed down, as if time itself had settled into a deep, peaceful breath. Inside the old house, the fire in the hearth flickered low, casting a warm glow that filled the rooms with gentle light. Shadows moved softly, stretched long and lazy across the worn wooden floors, and the faint scent of pine and lavender wrapped around me like a comforting shawl. I sat by the window, Eleanor's diary resting open on my lap, her familiar script a tender thread weaving me back through the stories she left behind, stories of love, loss, hope, and the quiet strength found in family and memory. The tapping beneath the floorboards, once a sharp and eerie call, had softened into a gentle, rhythmic heartbeat. It was as if the house itself was breathing slowly now, preparing to rest, its watchful guardians ready to lull the story to sleep. I traced the faded ink on the page, the words reminding me of Joseph's steady calm, of May's laughter lighting up the darkest nights, and of Eleanor's gentle courage, shining bright even in the deepest shadows. This house was no longer just an old building. It was a living memory, a shelter of whispers, a home held together by love that spanned generations. That evening, the quiet drew me once more to the cellar, down the narrow stairs beneath the faded rug in the hall. The air was cool and earthy, smelling of time itself. The translucent woman appeared again, her eyes warm and full of kindness, her presence like a soft beacon in the dim light. "You carry their story now," she whispered, voice like a breeze through the trees. "And when you close your eyes, their voices will sing you softly to sleep." Her form shimmered gently, fading slowly into the candlelight's glow, leaving behind a stillness filled with peace and belonging. Back upstairs, the house felt alive with love, not with fear. Each creak, each whisper, each tapping heartbeat was a reminder of those who came before, their spirits watching gently, their stories cradled in the walls. Outside, snowflakes drifted down like silent blessings, each one a kiss from the past, landing softly on the present. I closed the diary, the story no longer just words on paper, but a living breath that wrapped around me. Night came quietly, the world hushed beneath a sky dusted with stars. Sleep came easily, soft and deep, carried on the lullaby of the heartbeat beneath the floorboards. The watchers of Hollow Creek whispered their last goodnight, and the story, our story, found its gentle, peaceful end.